PDP victory. The road now run, the journey rough. We foot strong and our we skin tough. So many dots have been thrown at us. Real Spartans never give up. Yeah. The winds of change blowing your way. Bust off those chains. It's a brand new day. It's not a dream. It is for real. We have Jubilee. PDP victory. Yeah. PDP victory. Tobagonians are born fighters. Carry the genes of our ancestors. You change hands so many times, mama. To get your freedom, you have to fight back. I see the many scars upon your back.
I have found that Tobago gets more done when Tobago goes for Tobago Centric Party that does not have a base in Trinidad. Because Tobago has to mind Tobago's business now. We have not mind our business for the last 21 years. We're minding the business now.
We have Jubilee. PDP victory. Yeah. PDP victory. Your enemies you shall see no more. Tobagonians will live better off. Better opportunities for the poor. Victimization it will be no more. The winds of change blowing your way. Bust off those chains. It's a brand new day. It's not a dream. It is.
And good morning. I am Jamie Beard, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. We are here talking about PDP issues, talking about Tobago issues, and we are live at the PDP Morning Show. Dwayne, tell us something about yourself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dwayne Nurse. It's a very much a pleasure to co-host with you this morning, and might I say how lovely you look.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and to all the listening public. I want to extend a great morning to you and those who might be listening far and wide on the various platforms we have here.
So again, good morning. One of our focal points this morning is to really bring it to you, the viewers, clear as day as to what our intentions are, with no blurred lines, with no subjectivity, but to be objective about where we are going as an island, that we are focused on Tobago, and we are going to be having such an awesome time for the next hour. So you'll be able to find us here from 8:30 to 9:30 weekly, Monday to Friday. So welcome again. So this morning, we want to introduce ourselves to you because, we'll be coming to you weekly.
Yes.
It's now fresh on the campaign trail. So we want to let you all know what our intentions are, why we're here. So Dwayne, you want to share with us?
Of course. I mean, the purpose for which I'm here, of course, is because for those who know me, I love people. And naturally, being a part of politics would be something that I would love to be a part of. So I'm here to be a part of this desensitizing, the discussions about politics, because I'm a patriot of Tobago, and I'm sure many of you listening could definitely share the same sentiment where that is concerned. So that is why I'm here, to be a part of this lovely discourse.
Great. That is awesome, and it's such a pleasure to be having this conversation with you as a young man, as we share the same view. For me, as you all may know, I was a candidate in the last election in January, all right? And for me, it's quite a personal undertaking at this point in time, because we need a reflection of the Tobago idea, the Tobago identity. And I think it's quite important now more than ever that we erase the lines and start talking about Tobago issues, start treading our way forward in how we are going to progress. And so we need to have real personal conversation, addressing the real ground issues, the issues that affect you, the everyday man. And that is why I am here this morning, and we will continue to bring to you the hardcore facts. We would not be easing up our candidates. We will be bringing to you who they really are, their intentions, so that we would be going through this journey together. And so this is something that is quite personal for us. Today our topic is actually sustainable employability. But before we go on to that, we want to actually do a recap of the nomination day. So stay tuned.
Election day we coming down. PDP we coming strong. We come to take over the town. And Fali sure to win this one. Every creed and every race. Time to find an equal place. Them other parties set away. Look how them destroy the place. Digest. PDP party them is the best. Digest. When Fali work, he don't rest. Uptown, downtown, them want to rest. The present government had the place in a mess. Election come out, do what is best. Tobago, you don't know you're blessed. Fali on the road to success. No other party can contest. Yes, PDP is the best. Digest. PDP party, them is the best. Digest. When Fali work, he don't rest. Feel the power, PDP.
Almighty God, we want to thank you for your love and grace. We want to thank you for all that you have done for us. We pray, Almighty God, that you will protect us today. We pray that your Holy Spirit will lead us today. We pray for no incidents, no incidentalities at all. We pray that we will be able to file swiftly, smoothly, quickly, and be on our way. And that by the time we get to lunchtime, all 15 of our candidates will be duly nominated. We thank you for what you have done for us so far. And today begins the real campaign. But we need you to lead us. This we pray in your most holy and blessed name. Amen.
Election start left Fali pass. To build back Tobago is the task. Tobago go never be the same after Fali beat them bad. Campaigning hard with me mass. Welcome back to election. Jet zest. Vote for Fali, now you get low. Zest. Vote for Fali, now get low. Zest. Vote for Fali, now you 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 get low. Zest. No way they can beat we again. PDP, this year we go win. Make sure and go stamp your name. When last you feeling need to come campaign hard. This is election. Party way up. Make sure and go and vote, you know. Vote, you know. Party way up. Make sure and go and vote, you know. Vote, you know.
Tobago we bless. I tell you we bless. Say we bless. Tobago we bless. You don't know the rest. PDP for the win now. PDP the only party for this country. Let's join together, make a change for our country. Time to go. BNM and Dr. Rowley.
So what you say? No way they can beat we again. PDP, this year we go win. Make sure and go stamp your name. When last you feeling need to come campaign hard. This is election. Party way up. Make sure and go and vote, you know. Vote, you know. Party way up. Make sure and go and vote, you know. Vote, you know.
Tobago we bless. I tell you we bless. Say we bless. Tobago we bless. You don't know the rest. PDP for the win now.
Today went smoothly, mainly because we pre-graded our documents last week. So today went extremely smooth, just basically to put the final touches and pay your fees. So I'm just excited that I'm officially a candidate for the District of Muncie George Goodwood and big things to come.
I'm also excited to be the candidate for Bagatelle Bacalet. This is a journey for Tobago, not only for us. Formally we fixed it and we had to do it together. together. And I just want to thank everyone for being out here and for the love and the support that they brought.
Well, we started the year with an election and we're ending the year with an election. And I am expecting that Tobago would come out and make a difference at the polls on the 6th of December. Bethesda Lekito, your candidate has been duly nominated. PDP family, let me fix this!
I'm proud to be representing the area of Darrell Springwim, and as my comrades would have said, it's time for us to bring about meaningful representation to Tobago. Let me fix this!
Yes, no, Mariah and PDP family. We at it again. As my colleague says, we're going to work together to make sure bring the 15 seats for the Progressive Democratic Party. Let me fix this.
I am honored again to be selected by the PDP to finally take the seat from the PNM, the seat that all they held. This time, we are going to do it. Who said that yet? Raise their hand. This time, we're going to do it.
Hard. This is election. Party way up, party way up. Make sure I'm going vote, you know. Vote and vote and vote, you know. Party way up, make sure I'm going vote, you know. Vote and vote and vote, you know.
Tobago we bless, I tell you we bless. Say we bless, Tobago we bless. You don't know the rest. PDP for the win now.
And welcome back. It's Jamie again here, live and direct with you guys, with Dwayne. And I could tell you, from experience, that nomination day is quite a thrilling experience.
It was.
You know, and you see the joy in the candidates in being able to just be there to represent Tobago. And it's so iconic being a Tobago party with strictly Tobagonians, and it is such a representative of who we are, how we are thriving, how we excel. So I'm looking forward to see even more from the candidates. Dwayne, as you know, this morning our topic is sustainable employability.
Yes.
And it's a very big word, right?
It is.
It seems that way. So this morning, you know, between you and I, will be discussing exactly what that means for us personally. And for me, I'll start with me. When I hear that word, the first thing that comes to me is purpose, where by design we operate in a place where we do what we are ordained to do, what we were born to do, what we were gifted to do.
Right.
So that when we function, our functionality is so divine that we are able to give of ourselves. So a job is no longer a job. It's no longer about a career, but it's about how we can contribute to our society and even to our families, to the nation, and even on a global scope of things. You know, so what is your take when you hear sustainable employability?
Well, I mean, for me, I want to compartmentalize the word, take it for what it is, sustainable and employability. Sustainable means anything that is long-lasting, longevity, and not only that, it must represent efficiency, it must represent, it must have some return on investment. So when I hear the term sustainable employability, for me it is the ability to operate in a place of employment, right, where your efforts match your returns, and you're patriotic about what you're doing in this space of work. That is what it means to me.
Excellent, excellent, and well said, well articulated. So we have a definition here to share with you guys about what the meaning of sustainable employability is, and it's creating the right conditions for employees to have a long, healthy, and happy career by ensuring someone enjoys working, is healthy and motivated, and in turn contributes to the achievement of goals of the organization. Right? So that gave us an even clearer picture. But at the end of the day, we are going to humanize these statements, because it's easy to find it in a dictionary and it gives you a definition. But no, the reality is the application of it. Allowing it to be fertile and for it to
must be
blossom
practical and relative.
That's right. And so this morning we're going to have a really nice experience.
Yes, we are.
Because you know who coming on this morning to share with us?
Well, we have this morning to help with this discourse Assemblyman Fali Langston. He is the area representative for Partivia Lansome Speyside, and he is the PDP candidate for that area. And more than that, he is the PDP hopeful candidate for the Chief Secretary in waiting. Good morning to you, Mr. Augustine. How are you this morning? Should I call you fact-finding Fali, faithful Fali? What term should I call you? Or is it Fali? It would be sufficient.
Fali will be sufficient. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Tobago. Glad to join you all. Brand new program, and glad to be your first guest on your program this morning.
We are very much too elated, and I'm sure my colleague here is.
It's a pleasure sharing space with you this morning. And listen, we are going to bring it to you straight and direct. We are not going to ease you up because it's really about representing Tobago. So yes. I hope you have on your big boy pants this morning, right?
Well, I wear short pants this morning. Underneath the beautiful shirt, I have on short pants, but that's okay.
All right. So, Dwayne?
So, what does, when you hear the term sustainable employability, what does it mean for you, Brother Fali?
For me, as the Chief Secretary hopeful, it means that I have to drive policy in such a way that it will facilitate our young people, especially, but all our people, in having the ability to find employment in a way that it can be sustained. They can have this employment over a long period of time. It will earn them income that is sufficient to treat with what they need to do in their lives, such as building homes, buying a new vehicle, taking care of education expenses, putting food on the table, and clothing, and all of their essential needs. And it must happen in a way that respects the environment, the physical environment we live in, that respects the person, the dignity of the human being, and that allows the person in a very dignified manner to just keep earning over and over again until they are fed up or they are ready to move on to greener pastures or to doing something different. So sustainable employability in short is really about giving people jobs for the long term and for the long haul.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And you know, that brings to the question, what is the difference between job security and employment? How does that reflect for you in terms of you being a person? We know the definition. We know in terms of job security, we're looking at the ability to maintain a job without dismissal, and we know employment is being paid for what you're offering. But we want to hear it from you on a more personal note, considering where we at as a nation at this point in time, from the global crisis that we're experiencing. We want to hear it from a more, personal standpoint.
Yes. And the truth is, job security is more aligned to your theme of sustainable employability. And let me break it down for people a bit. Because of COVID, we get to see which jobs had some measure of sustainability in them, which provided real security in them. And notice how all the hotels are closed, people were sent home. And that's because we built out these industries in a non-sustainable manner. So they're unable to withstand COVID, and that may not be the fault of anyone in particular, because we couldn't see this coming and the way it transitioned. But for me, I want Tobagonians to get to the place where they can get real job security. And you know, there's been this propaganda in the space that, Fali will fire people, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. It is not true at all. What I want is people to have security of tenure, security in their jobs. I want people to be dignified in the jobs that they have. And I'll break it down as simply as this. When you do not have job security, you are losing piece of your dignity. You are going to work every day worried, Jamie and Dwayne, about whether I'm going to lose my work tomorrow morning. You're earning an income, and when the salary comes into the bank, you can't do nothing with the salary. You can't pay your bills. You can't buy sufficient food. You still have to beg for a hamper. That is not what we want for our people. We want our people to be dignified in the jobs that they have and to have security when it comes to their jobs.
Right. And Fali, the truth is, when this brouhaha about you or the PDP firing persons came about, I must admit that I was a bit concerned and had questions for myself. And I want to speak to the mindset that, you know, because the fact is that the THA employs a large part of the workforce in Tobago. But I want to speak to the mindset that, you know, we seem to glorify on the island only the THA employment as opposed to the private sector employment. Can you tell us what accounts for that, and what would your administration do if given the chance to address that? Are you going to, like, over a period of time, just get rid of everybody because we want to have more monies in certain areas, or how are you going to address that?
All right, so you asked two different questions there. We will not be getting rid of anybody. There is no need to get rid of anybody to fix that issue. Firstly, we spoke last night about mental development. And what has to happen is that we have to re-educate our people about the issue of job sustainability, employment sustainability, and what that means. And the fact that you can find sustainable employment outside of the THE. And I'm not the only person who is saying that, because someone sent me a clip, I just forgot to share it. Sent me a clip where Mrs. Davison Celestine on January 8th was saying the THA can't give everybody a work. So clearly we all agree on the same premise. The THA cannot employ 100% of us. And what has to happen is that we have to beef up the private sector. We have to position the private sector and our entrepreneurs to earn money, to become wealthy, to have big businesses, so that they can in turn provide competitive jobs for our young people. I existed and I was educated at a time when we thought success meant you go and you get some A-levels and then you apply and you get a public service job. That was success. That means you were successful as an individual in our society. But after I went off to study in Jamaica, I recognized that success was far deeper and bigger than that. And I had friends in Jamaica who thought everybody in Tobago were teachers, because whenever they asked us to go in and they study with, we're doing, you teach a teaching, we're doing a teaching. And the reason for that is because many like myself, we can't find nothing else to do. And that's the point. And when I made that statement on TV6, they pull a small clip, but it didn't show the entire interview. Because in the entire interview, I made a point that I was one of them employed by the THE because I had no other choice. However, if it is we develop a robust economy, one where the tourism is booming, one where the private sector is booming, one where entrepreneurs can thrive and can have an even opportunity at the table, where contracts are not given to only a few, a minute few in the society, but the thing is spread out nice and evenly, you will see how many people will leave the THA work and pick up their own employment, will do their own business. And it's not that the THA will need to fire anybody or push anybody out. People will run on their own accord because they will see where they can become millionaires running their own business as opposed to being employed by the state. And so for me, I am at great pains in showing Tobagonians that you deserve better. You deserve more. I want you to get more. So I don't want you to get less. So I'm not going to take away the jobs that you have, because that will mean that you'll be getting less. What I want to do is to ensure you get more. You must get more. And I must give you the opportunity to have a choice for yourself. And let me give you an example. The young lady who did my engagement, Asha Maz, and I have not spoken to her about giving this example or calling she name. And the last time I checked, I think Asha Maz is a PNM, right? But Asha Maz, she organized my engagement. Asha Maz was actually employed in the Division of Education. But you know why she left the job in the Division of Education? Because she couldn't take on having to take a day here, take a day there to go and do her business in events management. And she recognized she could make more money on she own than with the THA. Nobody can fire she, nobody can run she. You know what she did? She weaned herself of the THA job and ended up in a place where she believed that she is more profitable, that she has sustainable employability. And that is what I am talking about. That is what I want Tobagonians to see, that you in and of yourself should not depend solely on the THA for every single thing in your life. You must become so independent that when Fali becomes chief secretary, you ain't afraid to call out Fali because Fali can't take away your work. That's what's happening in Tobago right now. People are afraid to talk about because they're afraid victimization. And victimization is real because we do not have sustainable employability.
Thank you for that, Fali. So in essence, you are giving Tobago more options, Tobagonians more options.
Of course,
to make
more
to be
options and dignified options and hope and listen. When I look around Tobago, and this is one of my pet peeves. When I look around Tobago, I don't see anybody in Tobago who could rank up with the wealthiest people in the country. If we should have a Forbes listing for Trinidad and Tobago of the wealthiest people in the country, I don't know that any Tobagonian will be in the top 10. And that is an indictment on the THA. It means we did not do our jobs well.
Right.
Because one of the jobs at the THA is ensure we could generate wealth. And I want to see some little black boys and black girls from right hand Tobago become rich and become part of the 1% too. I want to see people I grew up with drive Benz and Beamer and live in nice houses. You shouldn't have to spend money to rent somebody else's house as a villa whenever you want to flams and take a picture for Instagram and for Snapchat and for Twitter. You should be able to own that and own assets and own land.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and it's that kind of motivation I want to give to Tobagonians this morning. You deserve more. I want you to expect more and to demand more. Stop settling for under $200 a day. You deserve more than that. You should be paid more than that in the first place. So let me help you get more than that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fali. Thank you so much. We have so much more questions that we would love to throw at you. And you made a statement that was profound, because I too fall in the category of individuals that would have been educated,
yes,
and the option is to come back home and work in the THA. And the drive really was to be part and parcel of this transition and to contribute to make Tobago a better place. And we see a pattern where, when we talk about sustainability, we see a pattern where even parents would have sacrificed so much, would have taken loans, would have even sold cattle, do their livestock, agriculture, to put the children through school. And in their ideology or mindset is that, you know, when you come back home, security is having a THA job. When in fact, that ability to even put your child through school, through agriculture, was a means to develop, generational wealth.
Right.
And so my question
Correct.
to you is, what has created this conditioning, that we need to be part and parcel of this to establish or to become secure? Where has that conditioning come from? And why have it been so profound and pronounced that even today the children are still in that mindset to get a THA job?
Well, Hurricane Flora helped in doing this to us. If you remember, prior to Hurricane Flora, many people lived agrarian lifestyles, and we talk about Tobago being the food basket of the country. Many of our communities were involved in agriculture, and it was agriculture that sent people like Dr. Vanos James and J.D. Ella and all of these people off to study. In fact, at one time, Charlottesville had more PhDs per capita than anywhere else in the Caribbean. And that happened with people, with parents who were living agrarian lifestyles and planting the land. When Hurricane Flora came and destroyed everything people had, people recognized that, look, they had nothing to fall back on. They had no insurance. And so a government job provided a lot more insurance at the time than the traditional agrarian lifestyle. And so people graduated and moved and matriculated into that kind of lifestyle, no fault of theirs. We also have a situation whereby parents did not necessarily want the children to come and have to do the kind of hard manual work that they did. And I spoke to Dr. Vanas and he told me plainly, he said, look, he said, Fali, I didn't go off to study to come back and do the same kind of work my parents did, because I could earn a lot more money than how they work and what they did. And you can't fault someone for that. You can't fault the children of parents who grew up on the land for thinking that I need to get something that is a lot more sustainable.
Right.
But as we progress as a society, we recognize that that having a government job is not the only pathway to sustainable employability. That might be one. And I'm not saying government jobs are not sustainable. That might be one pathway to sustainable employability, because it might be in the public service, your pensions can be assured. Well, your gratuity, it might be late, but you will get it sometime down the road. But they say there's some sustainability in that. However, I am saying you have options, and under PDP, we will provide options for you. We will make it easier for you to do your own business and be profitable. We'll make the tourism sector thrive, so you have options there, so that you know that you can earn 2, 3, 4, 5 income. You can decide if you want to leave THA and do your own business and earn. When you come out of school, you can decide if I want to work with THA, if I want to work elsewhere. The thing must become so competitive that the THA must struggle to find people to come and work for it. We must have to beg people and raise the salary to incentivize working for the THA, because you have attractive alternatives. And let's be honest with ourselves, Tobago, a significant portion of our population have migrated because they don't think there are sufficient opportunities here for them.
Right.
And that's because the THA cannot provide all the opportunities. So what has to happen is that we have to provide a myriad of opportunities for our people.
Thank you so much for that. And I too want to be richer, Brother Fali. I don't know about you, Sister Jamie. I don't know about you, but I want to be a part of that. The 1% in Tobago.
I already consider myself rich. Just being a Tobagonian, I know the potential that we have. And you feel it deep down inside. And that is why we're having these kinds of conversations, right, to really unearth that deep sensation within every citizen to know their worth. And the thing is, all is well and good, Fali. You sound nice. You're a very intelligent guy, you articulate. But the question is, we have so much little issues that we have to deal with internally within the THA itself. Like, for example, we have the issue where we have individuals working on short-term contract. We have persons who are experiencing nepotism. We have individuals who are having difficulties with their appraisals that affecting their ability to have, the increments updated. And a matter of fact, some persons even have to go to Trinidad for it to be updated, which is a long drawn-out process, 3-4 years, and it's affecting their salary or their current salary at the point in time, which is affecting their livelihood, affecting their ability to even be motivated on the job. We have the issue of non-payment of retirement. So we have so many little issues that become such a bigger issue. And my question to you is, and I guess even, the man on the ground, how are you fixing that? That's the reality. It sounds good. You sound nice, but how are you fixing it? We're starting.
And the reality, Jamie, is that we need to start. The THA is empowered to treat the people and the increments. We have not been doing it. The THA is empowered to get rid of short-term contracts and either issue longer-term contracts or write through cabinet for the service commissions to increase the number of substantive posts. We have not been doing it. What needs to happen is that the THA needs to do its job and to stand by its workers. And I'm giving a commitment now that those people on short-term contracts for an inordinately long period of time, you can consider yourself just as good as permanent. In fact, the industrial court in rulings in the past have said that. So that's nothing new. So we consider yourself just as good as permanent. I also want to make it clear that for our teachers, those waiting for the upgrades, that your upgrades are already approved, you do interview, everything. I'm saying to you, we will just do it. I don't understand why they have not been doing it. And part of the reason might be because they want to not do it so that they can save money on the back end and ensure that they use that money and pilfer it and all sort of madness. That ends as of December the 6th. We will fix those employment issues immediately. In fact, that's one of the first things we want to tackle especially out of the divisions like health and education, and works where it's most prevalent. We want to fix those issues. But let me also say, one of the things that we have to consider is all this talk is nice and good, yes, but there are several people who were laid off, who don't have any jobs, whose bread and butter are not sure, and who looking for some kind of handout while they're also looking for a hand up. And I'm saying that you guys, we will be targeting you for the first tranche of government incentives and assistance, because you have to get the assistance. You lost your job, your family income is significantly depleted. We have to take care of you until you get on your feet again. And many of you have applied for the grants. You have not gotten the grants as yet. You're still waiting. We will have to fix that, and fix that quickly. That has to take priority over the vanity projects that we tend to do in the THA. So it just simply means you have to realign some priorities, Jamie. We have to realign our priorities, and we just have to start. You need a chief sec with some testicular fortitude, with some guts, with the political will to start. We need to start. We're just talking about it year in, year out. We're not starting. Let me start.
But Fali, again, we need to take we heads out of the clouds. A lot of people on the ground feeling the pain. And the reality is a lot of people know what's going on and not doing.
Yes, they are.
And the reality is that money is an issue. Because now we have been shut down for nearly 2 years. So that revenue, we don't have that to work with. So even in you saying that, people still calculating in their heads where we getting the money from. So it sounds all well and good.
And that's why I said we have to reprioritize. And let me give you an example. If I was chief secretary, I would not go and spend $41 million to buy 10 acres of land when the THA is the largest landholder on the island. I will prioritize the use of that money. So in other words, you have to change our priorities. And it's more than just not having money. It's about how we manage the monies we have. So we have to change our priorities. I would spend less. I mean, we're in lockdown. Since we're in lockdown, I will not be exhausting a lot of money on projects that can't bring in income. And so we have to take care of those who are most vulnerable now. They have to be our first priority. And I'm saying you are going to be our first priority. You have lost your job, you are my first priority. Your family has significantly depleted income, you are my first priority. You are on these short-term contracts, you can't get a sick day, because if you take a sick day, you ain't getting paid. You are my first priority. You are owed your gratuity for years, you are my first priority. You have been on the system, you do your interview, you are waiting your upgrades, you are my first priority. You are at the entry level in the public service, and there are higher positions which you qualify for, and the seat and the post is there vacant. You are my first priority. That has to be our first priority. You are a contractor and THA owing you money for donkey years now and not paying money, but they could find money to pay a few contractors. You too are my first priority. So it's about how we prioritize the resources we have. When money is scarce in your house, Jamie and Dwayne, when money is scarce in your hand and your pocket, what you just do? If you know you only have $100, you go in and sit down by seahorse to look for dinner, and you only have $100. If you have $100 and you go buy stumpies and buy 2 doubles and buy a $3 softie and full your belly and cool yourself, because you have to prioritize how you spend. That's what you do when you have limited money. You prioritize how you spend. You change your spending habits and your structure to suit your pocket. That's what Tobago needs to do, and make priority those among us who are most vulnerable. And I'm giving the commitment that a PDP team will make those of you who are most vulnerable our priority.
Big up to doubles and small time. There's a natural full belly right there. But staying on the premise of the teacher workers and the work environment, we want to talk about upward mobility and relate it to the fact that, you know, in other words, to give them an intrinsic motivation to become better in the workspace. How would you link that, and at the same time guard against people only flocking to the THA? I know you would have mentioned some things before, but I want to kind of zero in on that. Let me just repeat the upward mobility in the workspace in the THA, and so that people could perform more, and at the same time guard against people only flocking to the THA for employment.
At the moment, we can't guard against people only flocking to the THA.
Well, not now,
If
but I
the
mean in the future.
If the THA mash up every other alternative, there's one place for them to flock to, the THA.
Right.
So it's in the THA's best interest. It's in our economic best interest to support and boost other sectors, like manufacturing, make Cove work by giving the subsidies to the people who deserve it down in Cove, especially the locals who are trying to operate business down there. We need to also support tourism, fix that product and make that product work and work more efficiently. And in so doing, we will reduce the stresses on the THA when it comes to people demanding jobs, right? So that's the first thing. But outside of that, we have to begin to change the way we educate people as well, Dwayne and Jamie, because I feel that the way we educate people is that we are educating people to only come to look for jobs through the THA, through the government sector. We are yet to prioritize non-traditional studies and academics. There is an urgent need for us to start to prioritize people in vocational education, for example. Yes, we in COVID and a pandemic, but people still building house, people still doing repairs, people still doing road works. In fact, right now is road works giving out more than ever. And so there's a need for vocational education, a great need for that. And we need to support those areas so that our young people can feel important learning vocational trade. We have to also support those in the creative sector. They have perhaps lost more than any other in this instance, because the nightlife has been completely crushed. It doesn't exist anymore. So all your DJs, your singers, those that will get a gig at a little hotel, at a restaurant, at a bar, they have been losing income significantly. We have to find a way to support them too and to help them get back in the business. But so in other words, we have to fix our education sector. So we educate people in a way that they will be able to capitalize on opportunities across a broad range of areas. And we also have to fix other industries so that the strain and stress on the THA does not remain. And I'm having these hard conversations with you and Tobago now, so that you are accustomed hearing these hard conversations, and so that you know that you will not have a chief sec who will pretend to you, and then as you get in power, you shut down a whole department and send home everybody like you're doing MTD. Or you will hire people weeks and some days and send them home like you're doing the reforestation program, or as you did with the reforestation program up in Charlottesville. We're not about that. We're having the hard conversations now so that you know how difficult it will be to get there. But I'm also giving you the commitment that your THA led by me will support you during these difficult times and allow you to get all the way to the next level.
Thank you very much for that, Fali. I just have one follow-up on this question. Do you think that there's a sense of frustration for THA workers at the moment, given that there might be a case where, when I spoke about upward mobility, that is not present? Do you think that there's a bit of frustration there, and especially in a time like now, where people are at advantage and money is a factor? How would you speak to that?
And yes, money is a factor, and yes, THA workers are rightfully frustrated. They have a right to be frustrated, and they have a right to be frustrated because the system has failed and has failed them. We have failed them, meaning the THA has failed them, failed our workers. And that's why I stressed on things like public sector management. I stressed on treating with the contract issues, because I want to give those groups hope that somebody will actually listen and take them on and take them seriously. I am convinced that while what we receive in terms of monies are small and insufficient, I am equally convinced that we have been mismanaging our resources. And when you're mismanaging your resources, it is difficult to tell how much more you would have achieved if you manage your resources properly. You know, and that is something that I want you to hold me to. If you hold PDP to nothing else, hold us to a pledge towards managing our resources well, being honest, being transparent, and being accountable with the monies and funds that we have. Hold us to that. I want you to hold us to that, because that is the start. That is the start to fixing the problem, you know, Dwayne and Jamie.
Yes.
That is the start.
We're here to hold you all accountable.
We can't reassure our workers in the THA unless we actually allow them to hold us accountable, and we are actually accountable, and that we are actually transparent. Because if we do that, you will be amazed how much monies we will save. If you check United Nations statistics, they will tell you that most small island development countries struggle not because of lack of resources, but they struggle because of corruption. Corruption eats away a significant portion of our monies. And I keep saying it, there is an opportunity cost to corruption. So when a man could give away 400 and change food cards without any due process, there is an opportunity cost to that. On one hand, some people happy to get it, but on the other hand, there are some people who need and can't get. On the other hand, there are people who are waiting for the gratuity, but the money don't spend needlessly on some food cards. And I'm saying, let us manage our resources well, cut back on corruption, and watch how we could transform Tobago.
Thank you so much for that. And we're going to take a break shortly, but I have one more question for you before we move on. And we're hoping that you'll be able to come back, because we have a few more questions after that we really need to get to the crux of the conversation with. And you know, you said a lot of things, and it brings me to the point where, you know, you're mentioning the team and what you all intend to do. But this is a challenge that requires more than just 15, or requires more than just the plenary or sitting. This requires a nation movement. This requires every individual that exists here, that resides here, to be part and parcel of what you are projecting. So how do we get our people to come to that realization of what we need from them, and for them to even realize that they are capable of actually excelling, of actually being able to strive and to be independent, and to be able to really significantly identify who we are as Tobagonians. How are we going to get to that place? How?
And the thing is, it has to be, as you said, you answered yourself, it has to be we the people. We the people, let we fix it. Let we fix it. All of us, the collective. It can't happen from an individualistic perspective. We all have to do it. We all have to make that commitment. We all have to make the commitment to cut and contrive. We all have to make the commitment to support those who are most vulnerable among us first. It is simple things like, if you know you don't deserve a food card, you don't take one, you don't apply for one. If you know that you can afford to fix your home yourself, you don't apply for a grant. You allow it for somebody who is really in need. If you know you already own 2 homes, you inherited 2 homes, you don't go and accept a government house after they call you. You could say, look, I have inherited 2 homes, right? I don't want a 3rd one. Give it to someone else in need. That is not government. That is all away. That is we the people becoming better in terms of how we want to manage the resources we own as a collective.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to take a short break, and after that we're going to come back and we're going to get back at you, Fali, because we heated and we want to get closer and closer, because we want to bring the raw truth and the facts to the people. It had no makeup here. It's the real hardcore truth. So we're going to take a quick break, And we'll see you guys. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
I am Fali Augustine. I am a junior, so not Fali the father, Fali the son. And I am running for Pdp Langston Speyside, and I'm the prospective candidate to be your next chief secretary. You know, it took a while for me to get here in politics. For a long while, I always was inspired by, you know, the need to get in politics. From a child, I had loved politics, and perhaps that's because in my household, I wasn't allowed to look at TV and watch movies and shows after news time. So the only thing I was allowed to do during school time was watch the news, close off, shut off the TV, study. And that was a continuous cycle. And so I fell in love with politics. But what finally pushed me over the edge is that I was a teacher and educator for 7 years. And I helped a lot of students from families who had no one going to university to actually get into university. And I was telling my students, look, if you make it through university, you will make it through life. You will be able to come back to Tobago. You'll be able to do something great. But then they were returning to Tobago, and when they return, they keep saying, but Fali, you lied to us maybe, because it ends so great out here for the university graduates. It ends so great out here for me who took my technical vocational skills to the highest level. And I felt I had to do something more. And I had to walk away from the comfort of a comfortable job, because I was teaching literally a stone's throw away from my house. I could walk there anytime I'll be in school, any hour of the day, teaching and helping students. And I had to make the decision to walk away from that so that I could create a society in Tobago that they will want to return to. That's why I'm here. Let me fix this.
Hi, my name is Abby Tanika Taylor, candidate for Darrell Spring Wim Electoral District. I have a passion for relics and antiquities. I love anything old. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a museum curator or an archaeologist. I was always digging up stuff in my yard, or, you know, trying to figure out who was this or who was that. I always wondered how people live, like back in the 1800s, how they used to travel, how they used to dress, what kind of foods they ate. Those kinds of things fascinated me, and I think that propelled me into doing history as a discourse and learning more about my environment and learning more about Tobago on a whole. I love history. I think our history is so important, and I believe it is our history that will drive our future. It drives our development. I think a people without a past is a people without a future.
I am Watson Solomon Duke, and my constituency is from the east, Roxborough, Argyle, but it includes Dallaford, Louisdore, Betsy Hope, Argyle, Kendall, Lamy. Watson Duke is what I call a yard man. Me a man from a yard, and so when the average person sees me, they can relate to me. I operate on different strata. I could walk with kings, but I have the touch of a common man. In my work as the president of the PSA, I have the privilege to negotiate with ministers. I've dealt with Patrick Manning, I've dealt with the Kamala Prasad business executive, now I'm dealing with the Keith Rowley executive. So I've dealt with the kings or the leaders of society, but I've also dealt with the door catchers, with the clerks, and with the average rank and file. I think I best represent all of society. I am Watson Solomon Duke. Let me fix this.
I am Joel Notsi Samson, representing the electoral district of Bonaccord Crown Point. Well, Notsi comes with a lot of values, but there is one quote that stands out to me a lot. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. I plan to bring representation with honesty, integrity, and fairness to all. Representation, whether you support either political party, you will be represented. This is time for a clarion call for all residents. Let we fix this. Time to work together and bring the community together.
My name is Terence Beans, and I am vying to represent the electoral district of Bethel, New Grange. After 21 years, the conditions that we see in and around us, the state of affairs in families, the kind of emotions that we are exposed to even as we walk from day to day, and feeling that we should have advanced so much more than we have. I think that the time has come for some fixing to take place. And it is my hope that the people buy into this message of fixing, and that they come out and go to the polls and vote for the PDP so that we can bring some meaningful change to people's lives, and we can also bring a new governance architecture to this space we call Tobago. I am Terence Beans. Let me fix this.
So what you say, what you say? No way they can beat we again. PDP, this year we go win. Make sure and go stamp your name. When last you feeling need to come campaign hard. This is election.
And welcome back to PDP Mornings. It's your girl Jamie and
Dwayne Nurse.
And so far, we're back at you again. We have 2 questions.
Yes.
And we struck with time, so we want to make it clear. We want it to be direct, straightforward, right? So my question to you, right, is that there's a shift, there's a conscious shift on the island. And more than ever now, a lot of persons are becoming so much more clearer with who they are, what it means to be Tobagonian. And within the political scope of things, you know, locally, there is this attention to what is happening even globally, that there's this global threat that is brewing. How does the PDP, with a THA-led government, how do you all intend to even address that without losing focus on who we are as a people, or identity, or culture, and what we stand for, integrity, and not being lost in that whole
survival mode.
That survival mode. How do we stay focused? How do we establish who we are, and at the same time battle with this global attack that we're seeing? And it's clear as day, and that's the reality. So tell us.
Well, as a student of international relations, I spent quite too many years studying the impact of globalization, or what I like to call the CNNization of the world, and how these metropoles especially, how they tend to influence and impact small states nation states like Trinidad and Tobago, and like Tobago in particular, and how we consume everything from the clothes we wear to the information we receive, and how we think we ought to behave, and the values we ought to adopt. And if you notice PDP's theme for this election, let we fix this. This is the first time in the history of Tobago and politics of Tobago that any political party has a theme for an election that is not in standard English. Let us soak in for a minute. And that is because we were purposeful, we were deliberate rather, in wanting you to know that it is our intention, while we make Tobago globally competitive, it is our intention to safeguard the history, the culture, the beauty, the splendor that is Tobago. Our identity has to be preserved while at the same time ensuring that we become globally competitive. I will also add that there is money to be made from preserving your identity. There is a reason why the world thinks that the only Caribbean country that exists is Jamaica. And that's because they have been unashamed and unapologetic about their identity and who they are, their language, their customs, their behaviors. They have maintained it, whether they live in Jamaica or they live in New York. And it's that kind of mindset that will help preserve Tobago's heritage and culture. It's not just about talking it glibly, but it's about being proud of who we are. And the reason why we chose a theme in the Mesolect Tobago Creole is so that we can tell Tobagonians from now, believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself and believe in what you have to offer and your abilities, and you believe that your identity is as good as any and better than many, then you will see us not only earn money and profit from that, especially through the creative industries, but we will preserve our identity while at the same time making steps towards becoming globally competitive.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And my final question to you. We're talking about sustainable employability, and we talk about so much other groups. And time again, we have the differently abled being left out of the conversation. And this in itself reaches out to them, because we have so many persons that would have to, living in fear of what will happen if I pass away, who would take care of my family member, what about them and their future, their skills. And so what does the PDP intend to do to even address that issue or that concern?
And I keep saying it, that what has to happen is that we have to create an education system that is two-tracked, that is parallel. Right now we have a one-track system, just one track alone, that supports the doctors, the teachers, the lawyers, the politicians, the people like me who are into traditional academics, who want to do the English lit and who wants to read a ton load of books and so on. But we need a parallel system that we treat as equally important those who want to endeavor to be in other fields, those skill sets that you're talking about, those skill training areas that you're lamenting that we don't have, and you're lamenting that we don't support. We have to begin to support them with their training and support them in ensuring that they can earn even in those fields. In fact, people in those fields can earn more than people in the field that I am in at the moment. So it's about re-educating the population. That's not easy to do. Let me say it that way. That's not easy to do. You can't just re-educate a population by just talking it. Yes, we can do it through the school system, but for those outside of the school system, we have to create avenues for continuous learning, for lifelong learning. So even as adults, they can have access and they can participate and learn new skills and be retrained and retooled so that they can meet the demands of today.
All right.
Thank you very much, Brother Fali, and it was indeed a pleasure and privilege to be a part of this discourse with you this morning. I hope to have you again sometime. We could talk about other pertinent issues surrounding Tobago and the politics of Tobago. Viewers, I know that the viewers were indeed informed, and I'm sure that it would have removed the false notion that we are going to, the PDP is going to fire everybody, and I hope that the path in terms of Tobago's employment is further cleared up for the citizens. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you for having me. All the
Thanks
best.
again. It was a pleasure. And guess what, Fali? We are going to hold you accountable. So this is taped. It is being aired. And so we're putting you out there. We're putting you on the hot seat. And we are going to hold you at ransom for everything that you have said. And that's the beauty of democracy. That's the beauty of exercising democracy. That we don't have to sit back and wait and you know, just accept what is given. We have an expectation of you guys. And so thank you again for coming. We're looking forward to having more conversations with you, conversation more with the team, and representing the voice of Tobagonians. So thanks again. You have a blessed day. It was a pleasure again.
Thank you. All the best.
So viewers, you all heard it from the man himself.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Right? How do you feel, Dwayne, you know, as a young man, as a Tobagonian?
I think as a Tobagonian, I am more confident in the future of Tobago based on what was said. We spoke about many things around employment, the patriotism. We spoke about the fact that, you know, we want to protect the rights of Tobago to choose and give them more options that they can be a part and compete, not just in Tobago or against the Trinidad worker, but on a global scale. And in so doing, I believe that, you know, Tobagonians, the standard of living thereof would be better suited for Tobagonians, especially in a time like this.
I totally agree. And you see, it's a beautiful thing to be part of this experience.
Yes.
It's a beautiful time to live. It's a beautiful time to be here, to see the transition from where Tobago is to where it's going.
Right.
And it's an honor to actually be able to be part and parcel of it. And it takes a lot of responsibility from each and every one of us to be part of the conversation.
Correct.
And that's why we have in the show.
Correct.
It's really not about having this biased stake on trying to make the candidates for the PDP look superior, but it's really to have real engagement,
Yes.
real conversation,
Tobago-centric.
so that the end of the day, Tobago wins. This is not about a political win. This is not about this political venture, but it's really a greater stride in becoming autonomous,
Yes.
in identifying who we are. And the thing is, viewers, this is where we come in as citizens, where we hold the persons that sit on that seat responsible. And then we within ourselves have to be responsible. Yeah. We have to be responsible about who we are, our principles, or guidelines. And as Fali would have said, if you know that you are not in need of a food card, then you wouldn't apply
Yes.
for it, because you are taken away from a brother or a sister who is in need.
Yes.
Who is in need. So we have this shift where those that have continued to have and those that have not continued to suffer. And we have to take responsibility as a people for that. Right? I could tell you, I'm looking forward to more conversations.
I am indeed too.
You know, to meet the other candidates and to have candid conversation finally. And that's what I'm all about. Having real candid conversations.
Yes, yes. And I just want to finally say though that, you know, I don't love politics because of politics' sake. I love politics for what it should be than for what it is. And for me, and that is why I am here, and I'm sure again you are here for the same reason.
Definitely.
And I want to employ the young Tobagonians like myself. So let's be a part of a movement that, you know, reflects politics for what it should be, not for what it currently is. And I just want to end by saying that.
Thank you so much. And that is so true. And the revolution starts with the young. The young, the willing, the able, persons who recognize that the change has to come. And the change is coming, but we have to be the ones facilitating the change. I want to remind you guys that we would be here from Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 9:30, where you'll be able to meet the PDP candidates, where you'll be able to engage. Hopefully by tomorrow, we will be able to have a hotline where you'll be able to call in, ask questions, so that we create a more personable space for you, so that you would be able to meet and greet with the candidates. This is not a one-off thing. This is something that we're going to have been continuing even after the election, so that we would continue to meet the people, meet the needs, meet the community. So we thank you again for being here, for sharing space with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the morning.
PDP the only party for this country. Let's join together,
right,
make
Nana.
a change for our country. Party.